Hi friends, welcome to the Unit R Day 4 factoring packet. We're going to be looking at page 9 today. Page 9 and page 10 are just factoring practice. So this is just a combination of any of them. And it's not necessarily in any order. So you may see some that are of a one type and some that are another type. So this isn't in order, and this is kind of how you see problems out in the wild. So I'm saying out in the wild. The idea is that after you learn this concept factoring is that you can see it and recognize it in many different places, and your brain immediately goes to, okay, how can I make this problem easier? What can I do to make this problem more simpler to solve? Not only in math, but in real life, giving you skills to make your problems simpler to solve. Page 9, number 2, we'll start with this one. So I'm just going to do a couple on each page, 3 on each page. U to the 4th minus W to the 4th. We see these fourth powers. And this is actually a difference of squares. So if I go through and approach it as that, I'm going to have u squared minus w squared, and then u squared plus w squared. Now again, I have another difference of squares, that u squared minus w squared. That's going to give me a u plus w and a u minus w. And then don't forget we need to bring down the u squared plus w squared as well. You cannot factor the sum of squares unless we're including imaginary numbers, so we'll hold off on that for now. So that is the complete factorization for number 2. Number 4, I have 144a squared minus 64b squared. Again, this is a difference of squares. So we have, and I'm approaching it that way and not factoring out any other part first because of that 144. You're going to see what's going to happen here shortly. So again, 12a, and then let's do plus, what do I have? 8b. And then that you should immediately see like, oh wait, we can factor something out. We can factor something out of this. So we're going to finish this one out, and I'm going to show you, oh, there was actually something we should have caught in the beginning. And then 12a minus 8b. So you can see that there is something that we can factor out of these. So if I factor out something from 12 and 8, 4 gives us 3a plus 2b. And then a 4 from this one also gives us 3a plus 2b. And then if I take 4 times 4, I get 16. And then 3a... the second one is a minus 2b. My apologies. 3a plus 2b and 3a minus 2b. So just kind of seeing that right away, I should have factored out a 16 from both of these first. And I just want to showcase that. I'm going to showcase in a different color that process, again, going through and finding that GCF, would have been fast. So these are the steps that I have for that one. So 144 divided by 16 is 9. So again, factoring out 16 first, making sure you can see it, 16, and then I'm left with 9a squared minus, and then 4b squared. So now you can see that this is a lot easier and manageable to work with the numbers that we have, because we're just left with 16 times 3a plus 2b and 3a minus 2b, which is what we got when we did it, this longer method over here. So just be careful going through and doing these. You want to make sure that you factor out completely, factor out the GCF first. Next, I want to go over is number 7. So for this one, I've got some negatives. I'm going to go ahead and factor the negatives out, and it looks like I can factor out a 5 from all of these. So jumping in, I've got negative 5. This gives me, let's see, that would give me 3b squared. Oh, sorry, negative 5b squared, because they all have at least a b squared term as well. So that gives me a 3b squared. Let's see if I factor out or divide 10b cubed divided by that. I'm left with a minus 2b. And then this last part is a plus 6. And then looking at these, seeing if I can factor out, this is an ax squared minus bx plus c. So now I need to check to see, can I factor from this as well? So if I factor, I have my terms, so 1 and 3 for this first one, and that's all. And then for 6, I'm going to have 1 and 6, and then 2 and 3 for the second one. So now I'm going to try my different combinations to see if I can come up with a term, my middle term. So again, I'm going to bring down the negative 4b squared. And then I have plus sign here. That tells me I'm going to have minus minus. And I'm going to have a b as well, so b minus, and then b minus for my parentheses, setting those up. Okay, so now jumping through, I meant to do this in green and my next part in pink. Whew. All right, now let's try this in pink. Okay, so now I've got, I know I'm going to have 1 and 3 for my first part, so 1 and 3. So now it's just figuring out what my second terms, my last terms in each of these sets of parentheses are. Let's go with 2 and 3. Let's see what works out there. Oh, if I go 2 and 3 here, I could affect out of 3, so let's go 3 and 2 instead. All right, let's see what happens. So b negative 2, that's negative 2b, negative 11b. Oh, that doesn't work. I know I can't flip it around, so I'm going to need to do the 1 and 6 instead. So again, let's check that. 6 and 1. Negative 6 and 3b, that's negative 18b. Negative 1's negative 9, or negative 18 plus another one, negative 19. Well, that doesn't work. Oh, well, I've checked all those. Does it factor anymore? Is this as far as I can go? Well, I've checked that. I've checked all the other ones. There can't be any more to check. So this is done. We're finished with factoring when we get to here. So not all of them that you do will lead on and continue in that fashion. Next one is on this next sheet. Again, it's more factoring practice. So now on sheet number 10, this is number 5. So number 5, I have an 8a squared minus 22b plus 12b squared. I can factor out of all of these. Looks like I can factor out a 2, but I can't factor out a 4. So I'm just going to factor out a 2 from all of these. So I factor out a 2, I'm left with 4a squared. Looks like a minus 11ab, and then plus 6b squared. So now, looking at this, you may think, oh, well, this is a difference of squares. I've got, or sorry, not a difference of squares, but a square difference. Because we have a square here, we have a square here, but 6 is not. So seeing that, it's kind of a red flag, tells me I'm actually finished with this problem. Next one I want to do is number 11. Looking at this. Number 11, I see that I've got 64 minus 64m squared plus m to the 4th minus m to the 6th. This right here is a red flag on the 3 and 1 grouping method. Be careful. There's a lot of m's going on here, so be careful with that. You also may see a 2 and 2 method as well. Let's check that and see if that gives me a nicer answer, a nicer result. So if I factor out from these two here, I can pull out a 64 from both of these. And I'm left with, looks like a 1 minus, and then m squared. Then if I factor out an m to the 4th from here, I'm also left with 1 minus m squared. So now, continue on from that, I have 64 plus m to the 4th, and then 1 minus m squared. A lot of students will stop here not realizing, oh wait, 1 minus m squared, that's a difference of squares. So I have, again, 64 plus m to the 4th, and then 1 minus m squared is going to be 1 plus m and 1 minus m. The last one I want to do with you is number 16, x to the 6th plus 64. This looks like 2 terms, so when you see 2 terms, go to sum or difference of cubes. This is a sum of cubes. So again, we take the cube of the first term, so that's going to be x squared, and a cube of 64, that's going to be 4. And then the sign here is whatever sign we have at the beginning. And then I square this term here. That gives me this first term. So if I square that, that's going to be x to the fourth. My next term is always, the next sign, is opposite of whatever the sign is. If I multiply those two together, I get 4x squared. Then my last term is this term right here, squared, so plus 16. As you start doing these, you'll be able to recognize that you can do them in order. Hopefully we're at that point. If you have any questions, please reach out to your instructor. Have an amazing day.